Hey there, old school gamers. It's John Clement, the grumpy old GM here. And today our episode is for Charmer on our Discord server. He asked me a question the other day, and I thought, that'd make a great video topic. So I shoved some of the other video topics I have lined up for y'all aside so that I could get to this one. He has been asking on the server, not just me, but in general. So if you've got an opinion, I'm sure he'd love to hear it. So the link to our Discord server is down below. But he is thinking about taking the plunge and going from player to game master. And he's also been looking for novels that would inspire, the kind of thinking for a D&D type of game world, Pathfinder, OSE, OSR, whatever version of this game you like. But he's been looking for, that kind of inspiration. And there's several I could mention. The one that I settled on that I thought was maybe most important to talk about was the Guardians of the Flame series by Joel Rosenberg. Now, Joel Rosenberg died in 2011, according to Wikipedia, so he is not around to follow on social media anymore or anything like that. But in 1983, when I was 14 years old, and there was only one book, and it wasn't a series, I was in Walden Books, and if any of you guys are old enough or gals are old enough to remember Walden Books out there, they were in just about every mall, and they were the bookstore where all us nerds went, and that was where you could find your D&D products. So, but I saw a book called The Sleeping Dragon. It said book 1 of the Guardians of the Flame series, so apparently there was a contract or something. There was a plan for there to be another book, but it was just amazing. So in the Guardians of the Flame, a group of gamers playing a knockoff of D&D. He didn't want to be sued, so it's not called D&D, but we all know it is. So a group of D&D gamers get transported into the D&D world in the bodies of their characters with enough of the minds of their characters to be able to execute their skills. So the thief is suddenly has the ability to pick pockets and not be detected. And the fighter knows all of the combat moves. He actually knows what to do with his sword. And he actually knows how to move in armor. And the clerics and the mage, suddenly they have spells floating around in their heads, memorized spells. The cleric has prayers to this goddess, and the mages have spells buzzing around in their heads. And they end up being transported to the D&D world. I don't want to give you too many spoilers. That's the kind of thing you'd get just from reading the back of the book, though. Kind of the teaser to pull you in. It wound up being a series of 10 books that ran for 20 years. Went from, first book came out in 1983, and the last book, the 10th book, came out in 2003. I have not read the whole series. Like I said, when I was a kid, there was only one book. There wasn't a series yet, and I never got back to it, although I always remembered it, and it's affected me forever. And I've always been meaning to go back and read it, and I'm actually doing that now. So as soon as I finish the book that I'm currently on, I'm going to go back and follow up on Guardians of the Flame. But the characters in the book, they have to figure out how to think about... the inspiration for the book, according to Joel Rosenberg on Wikipedia, is that when he was a kid, one of his friends said, "Boy, I'd like to live in the world of my game." And Joel Rosenberg was like, "No, you wouldn't, because this is what it would really be like." The book does have, the female characters get raped. The book is very harsh. It is a very brutal world. And if you think about it, our D&D worlds would be brutal worlds. There would be areas in the world of complete lawlessness and stuff like that, and there'd be violence and danger. And but one of the most powerful things that he gets to is one of the characters is a dwarven berserker, what we would call today in 5th edition D&D like a dwarven battle rager. And he has to figure out how to activate his rage. How do you do that? What do you do mentally, emotionally, in your mind? What are the mental techniques to actually unlocking this furious barbarian rage that gets your adrenaline flowing and gives you, beyond normal strength and ability? How do you unlock that? What happens in universe when your barbarian character says, like in a 5e game, "Oh, I rage"? Well, Joel Rosenberg, the author, it is the most powerful scene in the first book, and I'm not going to spoil how he does that. Another scene that I remembered that they went into was At one point, the human fighter is in a tournament, in a gladiator tournament to the death, because the party really, really needs what the prize is in order to survive and advance what they're there for. And at that point, they're trying to get home. They haven't decided to, to stay in the D&D world yet. So they're still trying to do something to get home, back to Earth. And there's this thing they really, really need. And one way to get it is as a prize in this gladiator tournament. And so they're actually trying to figure out how game mechanics would work if D&D was real. So they're asking the fighter, like, man, how do you think you can win this thing? Because, you're like high middle level. Like, there's got to be fighters out here that would kick your ass, because this is like a world tournament. And surely, there's fighters that have come here from all over the world. Surely they're going to, you're going to find somebody that was higher level than you, because they're trying to figure out what level means. What does level mean if D&D is real? He comes back with an answer that you guys have heard me talk about, what happens to high-level characters in these worlds, or which I think should happen with high-level characters in these worlds, is that they're not just wandering murder hobos going from quest giver to quest giver at 20th level the way they were at first level. He comes back with this answer that says that he doesn't think there are going to be any high-level people higher than him, because he says that as he understood the game, when fighters got to be really high level, they would become kings or lords or generals or barons or warlords. They would start, running mercenary bands. They would start ruling lands as a landed noble, or they they join a knighthood and get perks that way, or they just get old. The knees don't work. Arthritis. A lot of times we ignore the aging when we just play a tabletop role-playing game, but if that world was real, people would age. So he comes to the conclusion that he's got a really good chance to win, because he thinks that he's probably one of the highest level people in that tournament, if you actually think about the tournament and how that would work. So when the characters are actually talking about what they try to figure out, what they would have to roll in dice on Earth to play this game, and then they've got to figure out how that would actually work for now that they're in their characters' bodies in a real D&D world. So it's really neat. I've tried to set some things up for you without giving you too many spoilers. I think the scene where the dwarf learns how to berserk, he just goes into his memories of everything that ever ticked him off and finds the core of who he is as a character. It is just one of the most beautiful piece. That page or two or whatever is just one of the most powerful things I've ever read. And I read it when I was 14, and it really affected how I see characters as a fan or an audience member, or how I write characters as an author or a game master. So yeah, definitely Guardians of the Flame, highly recommend it. Now, this is the first time that I've recommended a fiction book or a novel. I might do this again. We'll see what kind of feedback I get for how this works on this channel. On this channel, I'm also recommending free and pay what you want game materials. That's the shtick there, is they have to be free or pay what you want, and they have to not be introductory sample products. They have to be complete products, not just, little quick starter versions of a bigger product that they want you to buy. It has to be a complete product. But but if you like what you're hearing, we've got our coaching program at the Patreon down below, where I will contact you personally through Discord or telephone and coach you through your own personal stuff with game mastering, instead of just sort of teaching and making commentary to the internet as a whole here on YouTube. You can game with us. We've got some open spots at some gaming tables for things like Pathfinder, Old School Essentials, Dungeons & Dragons, and Dungeons & Dragons Adventure League, and Pathfinder Society. And we've done all kinds of things. We don't have any going right now, but we could always start it. We've done Shadowrun. We've done Marvel Superheroes. Just about anything you can think of. We've got a D&D Dark Sun game going now on Wednesday afternoons. That's got some open spots. So down below, our website, Grumpy Old GMs, has our gaming schedule with sign-up links. Or just hit up us on Discord and hang out with us. In the meantime, I'll see you around the gaming table.